Hi Nick, so you can store information in DNA. How do you do that?
Well, we had to invent our own code so that instead of using zeros and ones, which is how the information is represented in a regular computer, we wrote a code that would take that information and represent it in the letters A, C, G and T, which is the standard way of describing a sequence of DNA. And we had to make that code had to allow for the fact that humans can't write very long strings of DNA, so we had to be able to make the message out of many short pieces and be able to put those back together afterwards. And we had to put other kinds of error correction or error avoiding and error correcting properties into the code, just like the way digital TV or a mobile phone signal, there are errors in transmission, but they can be corrected. So we invented a code that would do some of those things, and then we took information from a computer, put it through that code. That gave us the designs for fragments of DNA, and then there are companies around the world that can make DNA to the design given by a human, and we worked with one of those companies. They made the DNA for us, and then that DNA has the information stored in it.
And it is a much more efficient method of storage than the current methods that we have at our disposal.
So in some ways it's more efficient, and in other ways it's currently not so efficient. So not so efficient, it's the speed at the moment, it's not as good as a computer, and the cost is very high, particularly for writing, for creating the information, but it has a lot of advantages that computer systems that we currently have don't have. So for example, the fact that the information will be stable for a very, very long time, which we know from genetic studies which have looked at DNA sequences from animals that were 20,000 or 60,000 or 700,000 years old. The DNA is still readable. It's very, very small and compact, so we can get a huge amount of information into a small space. And we're confident that there will always be a machine that can read it. So last year's technology, a laser disc or punched paper tape or these old digital technologies are now obsolete and no use, but DNA will always be readable because humans will always want a technology to look at their own genetic makeup.
What kind of concrete applications can we think of?
Well, because of the longevity but the high price at the moment, we're thinking that the easiest applications to justify would be very high value pieces of information that we want to keep safe for a long time. So we like to use the example of the records of nuclear waste dumps, or the record, national records, or the US, every time the president leaves office, they build a new library to record everything about that president's public life. And another one would be the movie industry. Is increasingly everything they do is digital, but they don't like to store things digitally because they know that won't last